It was the government. They're watching you because that one time that you talked about child molesters, and now the NSA is now fucking blocking your whole signal. So I think that's probably what it is.
I think it's a good way to start. Child molesters. Don't you think? Don't you think it's a good way to start the stream? Get everyone confused and all that.
Oh, I don't know. I was just trying to come up with an explanation why the signal was blocked.
All right, so we're live with the dude basically. We're live with the dude, Aaron Limonick, ladies and gentlemen. That's
Hello,
that's the
hello
person
everyone.
here. How you doing, buddy? Like
I'm good.
I'm just doing little changes here, figuring things out and making sure shit works properly. There we go. The screen should be fixed. Every time I restart this application, the screen kind of goes hellwire, and I have to fix it. I have to fix it. Maybe one day when I'll be like having a producer, someone who just sits behind the console and do all this shit for me, all the problems will go away. All the problems will go away.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you do need. I think you're at the level of you're at the level of famousness where I feel like an IT guy full time is warranted.
Um, no, I don't think yet. I don't think yet. I think I need to be my own IT for a while. It is what it is, Just just have to deal. Just someone. Sometimes you have to deal. When you're stacking that chat and you're becoming the king of the king of the Gouda, and your mountain of cheddar is just growing and growing. You still kind of cling to it, and you're there'll be one moment in time where there's gonna be enough cheese, so that I can start sharing with other mice. So
I still think people don't understand when we talk about that. I still don't think people have caught on to what the hell we're talking about because I get comments of like confusion, just a lot of confusion when we say stuff like that. But I feel like one day people might understand where
yeah,
that's coming from.
we just have to. It's like one of those things. It's like with the lie, right? You just have to keep repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating, and eventually the lie goes away, or the lie becomes the lie becomes the truth.
A lot of
The
careers in
lie goes away.
Hollywood, a lot of careers in Hollywood were started by that method of just bullshit, and then eventually the bullshit becomes real, and then
Yeah,
that's it.
that's it, dude. That's it. So for everyone who's joining us and doesn't know who Aaron Lemonic is, well, shame on you in the first place. I'm joking. Aaron, dude. So you've been here once with us, and it's really nice to have you back. Obviously, we're gonna talk about the cheese and and all the other culinary experiences, but also talk about art as well, and see what people want to ask about, and explore those subjects, and maybe talk a little bit about education. And there's so many subjects we could go through. And for anyone who's listening, just on a more serious note, and if we were goosing around and just being absolutely silly, it's just like me and Aaron, we go way back. We know each other really well, so it's kind of like this friendly talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry for my opening comment. By the way, that might have been inappropriate, but I was
No, it was absolutely appropriate. I think people have missed exactly why we were talking about it, and I'll maybe. What's going on here? What is this interference? I don't know what's going on. What was that? I don't know. Shit,
yeah, I don't know. That was where it started.
that was weird. That
So
was
by
really
the
weird.
way, I actually did ask a serious question on replying to your post about like, hey, is there anything that students want to hear me talk about, or is there any topics that are of interest? And all the shit that came out was like filth. Like someone created a fake profile to ask me like if I've ever had sex with a man. And I was like, wow, you went to the extent to create some kind of fake profile to ask that question, and then that's that. And I was like,
Nah,
that's
I just think it's you. I think you have that aura of, that elusive aura of professionalism that kind of gathers all that, those questions that kind of like are needed to be answered, really.
I guess. Jesus Christ, I didn't know that that needed to be answered, but I appreciate the enthusiasm either way. If people are interested, then that's kind of all we're looking for here is that people are just interested in what we're doing. So,
Yeah, they are. They are. And dude, I think I know what we should talk about. I think we should talk about the cheese.
are you seeing? Are we recording my screen, or am I just sketching stuff to?
Yeah, we can see your screen, dude.
Okay, good. Because I was like,
We can absolutely see what's going on, and they can see my face, and it's funny. Funny, I can take all the credit.
because if you can't see my screen, I'm gonna start drawing something different.
No, we can see your screen. Like, we can also see my face from the camera, which makes it really interesting because now I can basically claim that everything you're doing is mine.
You are quite a maniac, my friend.
Dude, I don't know. I think it's Illuminati. I think they're on us.
You're right.
All right, we should stop goofing around and talk about something really important. I just want to let you know, guys, that you can always ask questions during the stream. I'll be following the chat, making sure that, you know, most, if not all, the questions are answered. So, by the way, draw something really cool so it's not embarrassing.
Hmm?
So it's not embarrassing that I like, because people might think it's me drawing, and if you draw something embarrassing, that will be embarrassing for me. There you go. No, stop it! Stop it!
All right. I mean, if you hadn't said anything, everything would have been fine. But you said that, so there you go.
Yeah, dude, I want to talk about this subject because it's gonna be, I think, interesting, and I would love to hear your opinion about it. And I've mentioned this subject before. I think I was talking with David Levy, maybe, or Art Germ, and we just brushed through it, a little bit. But we never went to like the full length of a conversation about it. And the topic, I think, that could be interesting here would be the starving artist.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
that's yeah.
So, are you a starving artist, dude? Do you
No,
starve?
no, I
Um,
wouldn't fit into that category. But I have a lot of thoughts on just careers in general. Like it's a hard thing, man, for artists to have,
yeah.
to build careers. So I've thought a lot about it in my classes. I talk a lot about it, and so yeah, we can talk. If you're serious, if that's what you really want to talk about,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
down. I'm down to talk
absolutely.
about that.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm absolutely serious to talk about it. I'm not really prepared for this conversation. It's not like I have a notes in front of me like, this is what the questions I'm going to ask you, nor like a producer in my ear saying like, dude, you have to say this. I'm just gonna like, come up with what I think is interesting and important, and maybe we could like roll into the subject with an intent, so it's not like all over the place and all random. um you Where did the art journey start for you? Let's start with that. Like, what was the time, what was the moment where you like, I want to become an artist? Was there any moment of time that this happened
Well,
for
I
you?
mean, for me, it's kind of a unique situation because I grew up in a house where my dad worked in film
Mm-hmm.
since the 70s, on the music side, not on the art side, but on the music side. And my mom's a designer and has worked for a lot of people for a lot of years, doing landscape design, jewelry design. She's just overall like a designer, but she's a contractor, so she understands the business side of being a designer. And she ran a jewelry gold. She's a goldsmith and runs a jewelry design studio
Mm-hmm.
since forever, since like yeah, probably the 70s as well. So for me, the encouragement to become a designer, it was never like a question of whether or not there are jobs in
Mm-hmm.
the art field where, so I can't say that I like figured that out for myself. My parents always told me like ever since I was a little kid, like, oh, you're going to be an artist because this is what
Gotcha.
you gravitate towards this. And so you should do this. Not Aaron, you're not gonna, you'll never make any money doing this. You should go to law school instead, like your cousin or whatever. I'm like, no, that be competitive in school, just academically, just because, again, my parents encouraged me. Just because you think you're going to be an artist doesn't mean you shouldn't do well in school. But at the
Right.
same time, you should pursue art as if you were going into med school. Like it should be that serious for you. And
Yeah.
if you do, you'll be fine. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I'm coming from like an absolute opposite camp where, my parents didn't know better. They're just like, the circumstances I was coming from was that, especially outside of US and especially outside of California, California, with the film industry and the art center, even in like 80s or 90s, it didn't feel like art is something that you would be wasting your time on. Whereas if you would be, let's say, anywhere in Europe, maybe I don't know how it was in France. I felt always like France and some of the European countries felt like they're more artistically driven. France always, when I was thinking about France, for instance, I was always thinking like, oh, comic books, because like the best comics I was reading at the time were coming from France, basically. So I would always look into this that way. But and I think I can relate to quite a lot of people here, is that you might not have parents that are gonna say like, hey, yeah, go ahead and become an artist because it's a good, you can make a decent living out of it. My parents didn't know better. They felt like you have to work in a bank or in a store or do something like that to sort of get by and live about. And if you become an artist, you're gonna be one of those wearing like stupid hats and trying to go to galleries and making a fool of yourself and not really really making any art and just starving. I think that's where the word starving artist come from. I think it's more related to like fine arts. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, well, I think it really the thing is, here's the thing, is that you can be successful in the arts
In
doing
fine arts
any
too, right?
in fine arts too. And some of
Yeah.
my friends that I went to art center with are successful doing fine art. But the thing is that depending on it's really just about your own research. Do you know enough about that field to have the confidence to know that you know how to go into it and attack it in that way? So I guess my thoughts on that are that when people like a lot of artists talk about my confusion and the time that I was in school wasn't nearly as clear of how to go about
Right.
being a professional artist as we have now. Now it really isn't that confusing in terms of what jobs you can have.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I knew I wanted to be an artist, but there were a lot of people that I went to school with that quote unquote knew they were going to be artists, but also didn't become successful artists because they just didn't have the right focus, and
Right.
I think that's a lot of it too.
And you went to art center, right?
Yeah, I did.
And when did you start like going serious about art? Was it in the high school or earlier than that?
I did quite a bit of, just my own art as a kid, but I wasn't serious about it until high school.
Okay. All right. And did you take like art classes in high school or like what was your approach?
In high school, yeah, we had a not a great art department, but an okay art department. Some people went to art high school in LA, which is a crazy thing. And my buddy Jared Morantz went to this school.
Mm-hmm.
We went to art center together, but before we went to art center, he went to a school called Loxa, which was an LA County high school for the arts, which is badass because it's like they get funding. I don't know exactly how they get their funding, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a high school for people that already know they want to be artists, and so
Right.
they have their they're accredited to give a high school degree. So you take academics, but when you go to school, everything you do is focused around the arts. And how cool does that sound for a high school student? That
Yeah.
usually most kids don't enjoy high school. That at least the ones that aren't like the party animal football player kind of people, the people that want to be in the arts or things like that, and the sciences, they're not usually partying and enjoying the experience. They're usually like, this is a very uncomfortable experience. I've never felt, and then this is myself included, never felt really like I'm a part of anything. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
an outcast in a way because I don't really relate to any of these people. But imagine an environment where you do relate to everyone because everyone understands what you're about.
Right.
being an artist.
So was it like a good experience for Jared? I mean, we're gonna have Jared on one of the future art cafes. I already spoke with him,
Yeah,
so yay! Um,
yeah, he's
but
dope.
yeah, he's super awesome. But I'm just curious, like, because I'll tell you this. So, for instance, when I was thinking about arts, and my first thing was, oh, like becoming an artist means fine art, drawing with pencils and having gallery shows and selling artworks. That was my sort of like the first thought about what being an artist means.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I saw like uh, commercial on TV, or was I think I remember it clearly when I saw. Oh, it was like a presentation and sort of like a small making of Tomek Baginski's Cathedral, which
Oh
was
yeah.
which was nominated for Academy Award, and I was like, "What is this sorcery? What is
Yeah.
this? I want to
Beksinski's a
know."
crazy artist, man. God, just one of the most insane
Oh, I
artists
think
out
you're
there.
thinking Bekshinsky. I'm talking about 3D artist Baginski.
Oh, sorry, I thought
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said
Oh,
Beksinski.
Bekshinsky. Yeah, Bekshinsky was he got killed, unfortunately. Um, yeah, Bekshinsky is fucking insane. Was insane. Anyways, but my first line of thought was like, all right, I'm gonna make a portfolio. I'm gonna apply to like a local art school, or one of those art schools that teach you like the traditional sort of fine arts way, and that's it. Like that's how my life is going to turn out to be, right? Like
Mm.
no, absolutely no idea whatsoever. And we didn't have resources like Facebook, YouTube, anything like that. So like all of those things you kind of had to figure out. And what was so I'm telling this because it was surprising to me um, when I was talking to Nick Jindra, who's our colleague.
Who's that?
Who's Nick Jindra?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds like a real sexy
he,
bastard. I
he's,
don't
he,
know
it
who it is.
sounds like a beef castle with like extra volume on pecs.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you say?
it's kind of like if Mario Lopez had a child with Taylor Lautner, it would basically be Nick Gendro.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
He's a daywalker. Yeah,
Yes. He is a true definition of beef castle.
yeah, he's a
He's a
beast.
beef castle on Taco Bell. On Taco Bell diet that makes him look like a beef castle regardless.
In 2018, we're going to be releasing a Naughty Dog calendar for sale, and I think Nick's going to probably be on the cover. To
I'm
be
pretty
honest.
sure he would be on the cover. If he wouldn't, I would be surprised. I would
Yeah.
be literally surprised.
Hmm.
But anyway, so when I was talking to Nick, he said like, dude, like in those places, like when you go to like those high schools and some of those like regular schools, like colleges for arts, even here, even today, a lot of students are confused. Like, what where are they going with this?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious because like it's one thing to say like, yeah, just draw a lot and become an artist and you will make it. That's like the shittiest advice you can get.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Um, but let's say you are one of those students. You may not heard about ArtStation, or you don't care, or you are basically trying to figure out what arts is about. Because one thing, for I mean, majority of people that listen to us right now, they already kind of understand the industry, but it can be confusing, especially if you have no idea whatsoever, right? Let's say you want to become a musician, right? Or like a guitar player. Like your first line of thought is going to be, let's look for like courses and schools that teach you how to play guitar, sort of way. And I
Yeah.
think I think for a lot of people, it is the same with arts. Like, oh, I will find like I'll Google art school, and then whatever comes up first, that probably means is a good stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I'm just curious, like, what is your thinking process, or what if you would meet a student that kind of like has this way of thinking, how would you direct him on the right path? Like if you would if his idea would be to become an artist, like not necessarily fine artist because that's a different route, but let's say artist in entertainment design or even industrial design.
Well, okay. There's a lot. What's going on here? I'm getting lag in Photoshop. That's probably because of the screen capture shit. But um, okay, a couple things. Number one, I would ask the person, how would you describe yourself? Like what kind of person are you? Do you like working with other people, or do you not really like working with people? Do you see yourself in a business kind of setting, or do you see yourself more kind of as a lone wolf, kind of doing your own thing, more like how a fine artist is? And there are people in entertainment that absolutely should not be in a studio ever.
Right.
Like their personality and the way they are, they're
Like
different.
myself.
No, I think you were great. I wouldn't say that. I think you could go either way. I think you like your freedom and you like to have your everything set up the way you have it set up, and that's great.
I'm
But I
just
think,
I'm just really gnarly when I'm
but
in the studio.
oh well, I mean, okay. As far as inappropriate behavior, I feel like yeah, that's. But I feel like we kind of brought that out of you. I think that's almost
All
our
right.
fault. That's our fault as much as it's your fault,
Fair
is by
enough.
encouraging that behavior. But that's like our culture at the studio, so that's kind of just whatever. We're just having a good time. We're not trying to hurt
Yeah.
anyone's feelings or be dicks, but we mess with each other in a way that makes
Yeah.
the work environment more fun. But I think some people just shouldn't ever do that. So I would be more interested to know how they describe themselves and how they feel about working in a business or any kind of studio environment versus working on their own. If someone decided that they felt like being a freelancer was more in their interest, then I would advise them totally differently than I would if they wanted to be in a studio. If someone wants to be a freelancer and they kind of want to work on their own, a very large part to getting jobs as a freelancer, as you know, is like exposure to social media. That's 2017. That's not, 2003 or 2004 when you and I started.
Yeah.
This is today. Back then, there was nothing like that. There was no Instagram following. There was no Facebook following 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, whatever. There was none of that. It was you either know somebody or you can get an introduction to somebody or you can't.
Yeah.
Or, you could try and message people, but how would you even message people? You didn't even know how to get in contact with I don't know. I want to work at ILM. I'm gonna email Ryan Church. No, you're not. You don't. How would you do that? There's no way to even do that. So
Oh, you can find his email. Pretty sure on his website.
no, but
Granted, he's probably not gonna reply.
back then it wasn't like that though.
Oh
You
yeah,
could.
you're right. You're talking back then. Yeah,
I'm
you're right.
talking
You're
about back
right.
then.
You
So
could send a
now
pigeon.
you could send a pigeon or an owl if we're talking about Hogwarts.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's a totally different ballgame. And I do have people the people that get ask me the question of like how to get started, and it's actually a lot easier to answer that question now. So it's kind of like if you want to be a freelancer, you need to get exposure and be posting shit all the time, all the time, all the time. Not stuff, not anything that you think isn't comparable to like the studio that you want to work at. If you know that you're like a year away from or 2 years away from even being close to the kind of stuff they do, then I feel like applying is not necessarily good use of your time because they're just going to say no if you're not even close to the skill level of
Right.
what they're doing. But it's nice to be able to know that you can extend that, you can actually extend a hand and start talking to these people online. Send someone your stuff and say, hey, what's up, man? I'm really, really big fan. Would you mind looking at my stuff for a minute and give me a couple, a couple words of feedback? Sometimes people will, sometimes they won't, but at least you can. At least you can
Yeah.
do that,
Keep trying. I wouldn't. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of artists usually are very busy, and especially popular artists will become busier and busier, and they get those messages all the time.
Yeah.
But I would say try it. Try all the time. Just don't spam someone. Like if someone doesn't reply, it's like, oh, this asshole.
Yeah.
Just keep trying, and there's going to be one person that will reply. It used to be easier actually back in the days to get feedback when you were on forums, right? Because you would post
Right.
something, and then you would actually there was like a sort of this different dynamic where people would be just posting back and forth, and you would actually sometimes stumble upon like a good feedback, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays it's like with Facebook and social media, everything is just snappy, really quick. People just don't care. Like an image that you've posted yesterday or 2 days ago, it's like it kind of goes away, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's tough. That is a tough one. But the fact that everybody can see it, everybody, they're like, oh, you know what? I just
yeah,
saw this thing on Facebook yesterday that looks like the thing that, I'm not saying me, I'm saying if that could happen where someone says, oh, I just saw this guy yesterday, stuff looks just like the thing that we're trying to do on this project. Can
yeah,
we have one of the producers hit him up and see if that he or she is available to work on the project? That never used to happen, where thousands of images are being put up and people have the ability to see it.
yeah.
The market's flooded as fuck, but that doesn't matter if you are staying relevant and you're trying to do stuff that targets a certain studio or a place that you want to work. Like you can still try and target those people and do stuff that you think they would like. You know?
Yeah, what would you do if, for whatever reason, you give it advice to an artist and his answer would be like, could you eat 25 raw oysters in an hour?
Oh my God, did you talk to these dudes about this shit? Because this is exactly what we were talking about the other day. This is my challenge, by the way, everybody. I'm gonna do this.
Please do.
I'm gonna eat like 25 oysters.
I
Like,
don't know. There was a person that asked me this question, and it was like very, very weird. For whatever reason, I started getting like interferences, like eat 25 oysters right now. Like, what the fuck? What's going on here? I don't understand.
It's your alter ego, man. It's like the dark voices inside your head.
No, I agree with you 100%. Just keep posting and keep asking people, but just be like, imagine that especially if you're reaching out to like your favorite artist or something, and he doesn't reply. There might be several reasons why that happens. So just don't get upset. Keep trying. Don't spam, because that's like the worst thing you can do. Like imagine you have a friend that is just constantly texting you, "Hey man, can you help me? Hey man, can you help? Hey man, can you help me?"
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, this guy again. Like, don't be that person. Like, obviously, I would kind of roll it back a little bit, and to a point where, let's say you're a shitty artist. Let's start with that. You're a shitty artist that think that you're a shitty artist and you think you're a good artist.
Oh.
That happens often, right? And sometimes it's just ego, and sometimes it is just like lack of knowledge and maybe lack of research. I would say when that happens, just my advice is when you meet, it's hard to tell, but go on. Let's say go on ArtStation. Just go there and look at the images that are on the front page and compare your work to it. Like, honestly, compare your work. And if you still think like, oh yeah, I'm the shit, just ask your friend what he thinks, or ask a random person what that person thinks about this artwork versus any of the artworks that are on the front page. If the answer isn't, yeah, it's holding up, it's actually pretty good, you should post it there. If the answer isn't that, then just keep working on your art. Just dug down deep, and just keep working. Just put those hours in, take some tutorials, watch some material, and probably punch your ego in the balls like really hard, and just keep working, I would say. That was funny when I was talking to Nick and Eitan, like how many students that they were meeting were like just like this, or even talking with Shadi, like he would say the same thing. There's a lot of students that just think that they're the shit, but they aren't, and they get like really surprised when they finish college. They get out, it's like, where's my work? Why I'm not getting work? I got the papers. You know what I mean? So just sort of like a quick rollback, because we want to continue on the conversation, but I just want to make sure that everyone should be aware that even if you feel you're good, you should sort of like stop in a place and really think what you're saying, because like if you think you're good, um maybe if you are, maybe if you're really, really good artist and you already have work and all that stuff, if you don't keep progressing and learning, like if you're not a student, you'll fall off the tracks real quick, like real quick. A few years from now, you might be looking for work again because you're already sort of like irrelevant, right?
Yeah. No, that's the whole thing is that I think, and you know what? I think people that have that mentality that that they are that good and all this other stuff, and only people who haven't been humbled by someone. And guess what? No matter how good you are, there's someone who can make you look real stupid because they're so good at what they do. And
Yeah.
nobody is good at everything. Nobody, no matter how good they are at any one thing, they can look real stupid at something else. So it's just a better, it's overall, it's just a way better idea to not be that way. And I don't give a fuck how many followers you have. I don't care how many likes you get. None of that stuff really, I mean, it means a lot in terms of your exposure. So I'm not discrediting that. It's very important for your exposure
Yeah.
and for people to see your stuff. That's a very important tool for us these days. But that doesn't mean that you have an entitlement that you get to act like you deserve anything at
No, you
all.
don't. You absolutely don't. And even if you're a professional artist and you've been doing this for years and you have this awesome job, you say you work at Naughty Dog even, right? You still have to pull yourself to be the best, because not only that's what you're hired for, to be the best and, and really perform, but it's just the industry is changing so much. You kind of want to stay on top of the game and really follow up on like, hey, 3D is a big thing now, so let's actually start doing that a little bit. Even if you're not just doing it full time, just start learning it.
And it's
Um,
fun. It's fun to do that. It should be fun to learn new
yeah,
stuff. If it's not fun, why are you doing this at all? Like what, That's what I want to know.
it's that curiosity, right? It's that desire to know more and just learn new things constantly and constantly. It's just like you're not being stuck in this one place that you really feel comfortable about. Tim Ferriss has this interesting approach, which is kind of related, but every day he does this 2.5 minute appreciation of life, where he's sort of like, all right, here is where I am. I love it. It could have been worse, right? Way worse. And when shit hits the fan, I'm gonna be prepared because I know, like, I'm already sort of admitting that my life is pretty good, no, regardless of what's going on, right? But he also says that you kind of want to be this person that, strives for improving, constantly improving, finding ways to, not really get into that situation where shit hits the fan, especially if you have a way to control it. Because there's like there are aspects of life you can control and aspects of life that you can completely, like, there's no way you're going to control them, right? If you're going to be in an accident, there's probably no way to avoid it, especially if you have like an asshole driver that just kind of rams into you. That happens a lot,
Yeah.
there's no way to avoid it sometimes. It's just a human element to it. But yeah, Dante asked like, how do you, what? I guess I'm just gonna reread it. What would you do not to get stuck in that fine arts mentality? And I think it's a really interesting question because it's really easy to do. Like, it's really easy to fall a victim of, someone who's really ill-informed, like a professor at, like a shitty school, who would just constantly barrage you with like fucking retarded information, basically, right? That
Yeah.
happens all the time, I think. Don't you think?
But here's the thing about that. That one's real easy. What I always tell people about, okay, great. Are they working on something cool? Like, are they working on a real, like a big project right
Like,
now?
not
Because,
being a teacher working, like working on, like, in the actual industry that they teach in.
right.
Yeah.
Do you have, are they currently involved in the industry that they're trying to talk about? Or are they talking about something from 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever?
Yeah.
That's number one. And number two, does that information they're giving you, does that line up, or are there any consistencies with anything else that anyone else is saying? So if it's one thing if it's just um, if it's kind of like, yeah, it's sort of similar to what this other person said, but it's a little different. It's another thing if it's like, whoa, shit, I've never heard that before. That sounds really depressing. Guess what? People that are having a good time, they usually don't tell you really depressing stories. They're usually like, you know what? There was this director. It was really hard. He was kind of a dick. It wasn't cool, but you move on and then you get other good projects. Anyone
Yeah.
who tells you something like, "Oh, the industry is so bad. There's no work out there right now. Like this is you're all gonna, none of you guys are gonna really get work. You should, or whatever, or something that just sounds fishy. Like, yeah, definitely those people aren't. That's because they're not successful. That's why they're saying stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. Generally speaking, people don't have those experiences that are doing well. I'm not saying anything bad about any individuals, but I myself have gotten bad advice from people, and later I learned like what a waste of time
Yeah.
because they were spitting poison to very easily influence young people who are excited to do this. And a lot of people will vent out their bad experiences on students and tell them shit and pretend like that's the way it is. And then now these people get a bad attitude about the industry or about
Yeah.
careers, and all because some douchebag told them something because they had a bad experience. That's the thing to look out for.
Yeah, if you have a person that says like everything is just shitty, not everything. Maybe you are. Maybe that's why everything is shitty for you. It depends. Like some people can be really great artists, but really unlucky with the projects or where they ended up at. Like that happens too. Like you might be just so unlucky. You work with this one client that kind of fucks you over, and then you work with another one that kind of does the same thing. Maybe when that happens, you should ask yourself a question like, am I judging a character in the proper way? Why am I getting in those situations all the time? It cannot be just, it cannot be just the whole world is shitty and I'm great, and that's why. There's usually something like look at yourself first. The bad advice can be really steering you away from the industry. I think you put the nail in the coffin saying that, yeah, kind of look at what people are generally saying, and if the shit doesn't align, something's wrong. Like something is completely wrong. I can guarantee that if you go to like an art school with one of those fine arts or whatever teachers that will just be, you have to learn how to use pencils because otherwise you will never work in as an artist, and you have to do this and that. Like if they have this sort of like very commanding uh, manner of explaining how the industry works, but yet they haven't done any industry work. Let's say, ask a question. Hey, is my prospective teacher ever worked on any film or game, or recently over the last 5 years? And if the answer is no, then you should probably, if you want to work in the entertainment industry, that should be a red flag for you. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, one of the advices that I could give personally is look at your favorite art. Like let's say you love Avengers and Marvel films, right? Let's start with that predicament. Like I love Marvel films, and look at art of Marvel films, right? It's easy to Google who's an artist that work on those films,
Hmm.
and try to find out. All right, so there's a bunch of artists that worked on those films. Is any of those artists teaching? Maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe not. If any of those artists have friends that do awesome art and they are teaching, because one of the things that I've noticed that not all artists are great teachers, I would say, but good artists will give you good advice in most cases. If there's a good artist that has a good job, works for different clients, and is constantly trying to improve and get better, and you can see that that's a person that's progressing, and his style is getting better, his quality of work is getting better. It's a person that doesn't have like a huge ego issues. That's usually a sort of like a good starting point to at least know, all right, so at least sort of like maybe a business advice from that person will be worthwhile to listen to, you know. But when you have like this one of those schmucks that work in the fucking in those schools where it's just like some old fart that's like 80-year-old, never worked on any game or film, and he's like, games are shitty, like you can never make money working there. Like, fucking get the fuck out.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to say that because they
Yeah.
never did anything. If they were to tell you like, oh, well, you shouldn't go to law school because you can make more money doing this shit, like no one would believe you. But there are people that would absolutely say that, and those
Yeah.
are, yes. But so no, you're totally right. You are totally right, and that's the thing. So like, let's just say like you had a person like you had a person like some famous artist that you really liked, but they're not teaching any classes. Um, yeah, that's a really good point. Look at the other people they work with and their friends, people that maybe are teaching. And even if those people aren't teaching, what you could still do is just kind of try and get a little bit of information on where they went and what they did,
Exactly.
you know, on their website, on a bio, look up Jamie Jones bio, whatever. I'm sure you could find some information. I don't know the information myself. For example, I don't know his information, but I guarantee you if you were to look, you could find some idea of how he ended up getting to where he is in terms of drawing, painting, traditional painting, figure drawing, whatever he was doing. He was doing stuff probably like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start from there, and then you can kind of decide like what sounds like a good idea to you. You know, like what sounds like that would work for you. At least that's what I think. That's the way I would go about it nowadays.
Or sign up for Learn Squirt classes.
What the
Ooh,
hell?
that sounded
Jesus.
diabolical.
That was diabolical. I don't know what those
right there.
interference. I have to really check my hardware. Something's not right.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's something going on there.
But I agree with you 100%. You know, and one thing I would even want to add to this is always have a mindset that you like always research. Try to find like different point of view. Don't have just this one person, especially if the person has like very weak credentials. Like that should be a red flag for you. If the person doesn't work in the industry anymore, that should be a red flag for you.
I've seen people, dude, who their credentials look like they've worked on a lot of stuff, but it's totally made up.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that. I've
Well,
seen some people,
it's
I know
very
they don't
easy.
work on-
It's very easy. Open up, like try to find what kind of work they do. Look at their artwork, and then open ArtStation, like fucking or DeviantArt even, and look at some of the good work. ArtStation is probably a better example, and look at the work that is on the front page. And if it doesn't hold up, then that person is a bullshit artist.
Yeah.
So it's as easy as that. But always having like different points of view. Looking at like different ideas, searching internet, because like right now Google and internet, like even Facebook, there's so much knowledge that comes out of it. Even going on YouTube, you can find a lot of really good YouTube channels where people teach for free. They will make short tutorials and show you how they do the work. You can look them up. Like it's like this sort of I'm kind of all over the place, but what I'm trying to say is like it's very easy to sort of like settle and be lazy about it and like, oh, like this teacher told me, so it's probably true. It's like this mentality of reading headlines and ignoring the context or content. Like people read headlines and they don't know what the article is about, and they jump into conclusion and start yelling. Like, did you actually read the article? No, so shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Very, very true, man. Very true. I agree totally.
So try to find, more context to what's going on. If you have a teacher that's telling you like, art is terrible place, well, then why you're teaching art in the first place?
That's a really good. That's a great. I wish I had known. I wish I had known to ask that question when I heard that in school. I would have said like, dude, well then I'm walking out of this class because you clearly don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Why are you here? What are you doing? Just to poison the well?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say this, and it's not going to be a controversy. I think any artist that I know will say, yep, you're right. and I'm really, really certain about it. If you are in a university, college, or any institution that is teaching you how to become an artist, and your teachers or any of your teachers aren't people that work in the industry, quit.
Yeah, that's it, dude. That's it. It's
Quit.
so simple.
Because here's why. Nobody gives a fuck about your papers. Nobody gives a fuck what kind of school you finished.
Nope.
Nobody cares. When you apply for a job, if you're a banker or if you are a medical student, right? If you wanna become a doctor, yeah, it's pretty obvious. You kind of want to go through proper, schooling, so you know how to help people because you had like a professional training. In arts, what speaks for you is your work and your work only. If your work sucks, no matter how good credentials you're gonna have, you might have, I don't know, James Cameron be your good friend, and he's gonna write you. He will probably never do that. I'm pretty sure he would never do that. Write you a letter like, "This is the most amazing artist I ever worked with." If that letter is attached to a work that looks like absolute garbage, it's pretty much granted nobody will hire you.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter what kind of school you finish. It doesn't matter if you have bachelor degree or anything like that.
Nope.
The only place it matters is the immigration office if you're outside of US and you really, really want to live in the United States. And still, you can go around it with just being a great artist. Like,
Well,
just by
you
just
obviously
working.
proved that one.
Yeah, I have no proper education whatsoever. And yet I'm a teacher. Figure that. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of artists that I know have no education whatsoever. They've never done any art schools or anything like that. If you're lucky, if you have money and you really want to do it, go to Art Center. That's a really good school. There's 2 or 3 more schools maybe in US that will have a certain degree of relevance in the industry, but that's about it.
But even that nowadays, man, even that is get for the price.
Right.
Like, so just for a point of reference, and I don't want to like bash Art Center or anything. I personally, for me, Art Center was the place to go at the time. That was the illustration school. That was there wasn't even an entertainment program. There was no such thing. We were kind of the guinea pigs. Our class, like me and Kang and Steve Messing and Ryan Meinerding, and that was like my class. Like, there was no entertainment, anything. People were still trying to figure out what digital painting even was, and a few of those guys, like, they were all doing it. Of course, we were doing it, but it wasn't like a big thing yet. Like there were classes about all the entertainment design stuff that we would want to learn.
Yeah.
But so that was the place to go. That at the time, tuition was $11,500 a term, and
damn.
Now it's roughly $20,000 a term.
What the fuck?
That's no joke, man. This is what it is. So just think about that. If you're gonna do that, and here's the thing with all that, if you go to law school, you go to med school, you have to.
Yeah,
and
you have no other choice.
You're gonna end up with $100,000 to $200,000 in debt if you go to those kinds of schools. And that's fine if you end up making a lot of money. You're gonna pay the loans off, as you know. If you had a couple $100,000 in debt, you would pay it off. You probably would have already paid it off, and that would have been that. And you would have been grateful that you went. But if you have other options, it's at least worth it to explore those other options and think for yourself, and don't just go just because someone tells you that's the place to go when you have other options. Now you do.
Exactly. Like,
that's
if someone tells you, even if I'm telling you drop out, hey, like, maybe your life is different. Maybe there's certain circumstances that may work out for you in that specific school whatsoever, right? But like, what I'm trying to say is try to gain perspective and try to listen to different points of view. And usually a point of view of a person that works in the industry is probably going to be more worth it than a point of view of someone who claims they're the shit, but they've never worked on a project, or they've worked on some projects 20 years ago, right? Or 10 years ago even. Like, that's just like work 10 years ago was so much different than now. Like, oh my God, like this, if you go, do yourself a favor, go on the Sijun forums. I think it's forums.sijun.org, or look it up, and go on the concept, it's speed painting thread, and look at what kind of work was posted in 2004 or 5. There should be still some images that are still up there, and you'll be like, what is this fucking garbage, you know?
Except for Dylan Cole. Somehow he was good as fuck in 2005, and nobody else was nearly as good.
Dylan and Craig, obviously.
They were using 3D like maniacs
Craig
already,
Mullins,
and nobody even knew what they were doing. Everyone was like, how are they doing this crazy shit? And they were doing sick renders back then. That's how they were doing it.
Yeah. But, I mean, go and look at the average images. It's just like, what is this garbage? And then again, like, I've been saying ArtStation so many times, but like for reals, it's you know, the quality of work that comes out of it. I like to look at that page, you know, that site. There's a lot of good artists over there. But you go there and look at an average plug, you know, or average trending artwork, and it's just like miles ahead of what it was 10 years ago. So if someone is claiming like, yeah, I've been working in the industry, I have this fucking amazing credits that, you know, you could list on 2 pages because I worked on so many projects. Yeah, that's fine. But that was like 10 years ago, man. I was like, you know, nobody works in pencils anymore. So I think you should kind of shut the fuck up. So that's what I'm saying, you know.
Except for Ian McKay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you have those unicorns, you know, that kind of like defy any rules.
Yes, they do.
Or
if
even
you're that
like,
good, you
yeah.
can.
Another one is Natividad.
Natividad, yeah.
Natividad. Fuck. I always
super good.
Ed, if you're listening to this, I doubt you are, but if you ever stumble upon, I'm sorry, I'm fucking bad with names. But yeah, I mean, even working in film, I've realized how many film artists never work in this industry anymore because they just never moved on from pencils and like shit. Even working purely in Photoshop, in film, it's just becoming not enough. Like they will ask you, hey, where's the 3D files? Well, I don't work in 3D. Oh, that's a bummer. Oh, you know what? I just got a call from a producer, and yeah, shit. Like we're gonna be going on hiatus, so see ya. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where it's getting. Kim Jung-gi is another example, but Kim Jung-gi is kind of like he's another unicorn. He does a different kind of work too.
He's more than a unicorn. That kind of like artist doesn't come along more than once in like a generation. Like there's not going to be another one of those anytime soon.
You have Leonardo da Vinci, then you have Otomo Katsuhiro, and then you have Kim Jung-gi, basically.
Yeah,
so just
like
a proper progression of you know, gods.
Yeah. Craziness.
But yeah, you know, I guess, you know, if you have your teacher that is just basically telling you, or is negative, like it's such an easy question to ask, isn't it? Like, hey, why are you teaching then?
Yeah.
But yeah, but someone asked, I remember seeing this. I would have to scroll up, but like, you know, getting exposure. How do you get exposure? How do you get exposure?
Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
It's Facebook, it's ArtStation, it's DeviantArt, it's whatever. Just posting on everything and post every day. Do sketches and post something every day, and eventually get better. And those everyday sketches will become good. Probably not John Park, but you know, they won't be John Park level, but they'll be at least good enough to get a job.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
You know?
You just keep posting and keep learning and keep trying to get better at what you're doing. And shit, like it's an easy advice. Like, yeah, just keep getting better. You'll be better. By getting better, I would break it down, and I want to hear your opinion, like how to actually get out of that sort of area of thinking like, yeah, I'm kind of like doing those 8, 12 hours a day, and yet I'm going nowhere, Like, how would you break it down, your thought process of becoming a better artist, and not just saying like, yeah, just work more, because like this is a very, very easy thing to say. And a lot
Yeah.
of people sort of like kind of fall a victim of like, yeah, I'm gonna sit more in front of a computer and sort of like paint. But if a lot of cases, just like if you don't have a guidance, or if you're having a wrong approach to it, you might be actually wasting time.
Well, okay. First of all, there are different kinds of there. I could break down the types of artists into many different types, but I would say that there are people that tend to gravitate towards creative stuff, and then there are people that tend to gravitate towards technical stuff. So for example,
Yeah.
someone that's on the creative side, they probably understand coming up cool color combinations and cool like color keys and doing speed paintings and things of that nature, versus someone that's on the technical side. Their brain understands how you might model something or build something, in an analytical way, and that's a special skill too. Not some people are both,
Yeah.
but not everyone is both. But if you can think of one versus the other, I would focus your training on one versus the other in the beginning. So that means that if you are on the maybe not so much on the creative side, if you have a hard time coming up with ideas of things that you should work on or things you should try, maybe you should do some master copies. Maybe you should just be doing master copies every single day,
Yeah.
doing studies from people who are really, really good. Guess what? If you are copying a Jamie Jones painting or a John Park painting or a whatever artist that you really like every day for a year, and you don't get a lot better, you should stop. You shouldn't do
Mm,
anymore. A year of doing paintings,
yeah.
like a year of doing a painting a day, 365 paintings a day, and watching their tutorials and learning how they work, and you're going to absorb their information by just watching how they work and by trying to mimic what they're doing. That's me coming from a background of having drawn a little bit. Like if you like to draw, if you have zero practice drawing, are you talking about someone that already is into concept art? Are you talking about somebody, because I don't want to mislead anyone. Are you talking about someone who literally has no drawing experience yet?
I mean,
No.
both, right? If someone who's in concept art, the answer is simple. Like, you just have to turn down your ego a notch, or absolutely, or just admit that, like, fuck, I need to work on myself, even if I already work in the industry, and just figure out what is the next step where I'm lacking. Like, as an artist, like, for instance, for me, I'm pretty shitty with some of the aspects of art. I'm very generalist, but there is like, I cannot paint as fast as, say, as John Park. It's impossible for me, right?
It's
Like, he's
impossible for everyone.
yeah, that's true. But like, I find it really hard to sketch, for instance, right? So for me, improving would be finding the way to, hey, like, if I find it hard to sketch, and this is something that I need to improve upon, I should do sketches more often, right? Um, the way I approach it is, and that's one of the reasons why me and Ash and Andrew were started Learn Squirt, is we want to learn like everything. We want to learn and expand the knowledge that we have. I've taken photography class. I've taken design class, UI and data design from Ash. I'm planning to take the Houdini class and ZBrush and all of those classes that we have in our school, because those guys and girls that are basically teaching, not only they're awesome, but it's also expanding your knowledge. I've read this book. Fuck, I can't remember exactly. I've read so many books, I can't even remember the names of them. It might have been either Essentialism or it's Mastery. Yeah, I've been talking about
Yeah.
this book forever, where Leonardo da Vinci, the reason why he was one of a kind of an artist is because he was not just kind of like sitting in that comfortable spot, like this is how you paint, so I'm gonna continue doing that for 10 years. No, he was always trying to find an avenue to explore and become a better artist. And usually, what happened is the moment he explored that avenue, he became obsessed and really encouraged to learn more about it. Like he would, in order to paint angels, like the first thing he did before he started painting angels, he would go to the market and buy like shitload of pigeons and just study them for like months with different positions and with different wingspans, and like just study the wings all the time and become an expert. And just studying birds basically made him obsessed about flying and creating, drawing those machines and creating those flying machines and whatnot. But like all the aspects that he was trying to touch was like, all right, I want to become an expert. I want to master this field, because not only it's an interesting thing to do, and by itself it's like really was driving him, but it's also was fueling this main category of the main body of work that he was doing, which was art, right?
Yeah.
That's why Leonardo was not only great artist, he was amazing architect. He was also a sculptor. There wasn't. I don't think there was any artist like. He was also a great scientist, like physicist. An engineer. Yeah, there was just so many things because he was obsessed and he wanted to learn more and more and more. If you think as professional artists or artists that already work in the industry, if you think like, oh yeah, I already work, like I don't have to care about anything else, well, don't be surprised in 5-10 years. I'm just saying that. Like, try always to explore what is the new thing. Like, what are the people are focusing on right now. Maybe I should start looking into this. What is really interesting, that maybe there's like a short film that you saw. Like, shit, I want to do 3D art like this. Just try to examine break it down into pieces, and what do you would have to do to learn it. Maybe you have to start with just learning how 3D works in general. Just getting around the UI and basics of modeling. And then once you get that, like, oh shit, I can do more with it. Now I can start thinking about rendering. I'm gonna pick up this render engine and pick up this, and start rendering. Oh shit, like rendering is pretty cool. Like maybe let's learn about realistic shaders, like physically realistic shaders. And it just like goes on and on and on, and you keep adding those tool sets to your arsenal, But you have to do this, otherwise it's just like you're gonna be in one place. And granted, there's gonna be artists that are more driven than yourself, and they'll progress faster, eventually bypass or you surpass your knowledge and skill, and get better and better. And you might just find yourself in a very tough spot after a while. So, but when it comes to an artist that, maybe I'll leave it to you. Like, what would be the advice for an artist that never painted anything?
Yeah. So I didn't really finish my thought before. I said something that I shouldn't have said. I didn't mean that you should do painting a day for a year, and then if you don't get really good, you should stop. That's not. I thought about what I said, and I don't think that's not what I meant. That might have come out wrong. It's because I'm drawing and talking at the same time, and I'm just fucking.
And I also interrupted you, and people get upset, like, Machi's talking too much. Shut the fuck up. I know.
No one ever says Machi is talking too much, because they don't.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So,
but anyways,
basically, what I'm getting at is that if you've done a bit of drawing and you feel like you have an interest in drawing, an interest in art, or however it started. Maybe it wasn't drawing, maybe it was computers, and then you want to learn drawing, or maybe it was drawing and you want to learn 3D. Whatever it is, it's not necessarily do master copies every day. That's also not exactly what I meant. I mean that you have to have a goal. You have to have a thing that you want to be able to do, and you have to have a thing that you stay focused on that thing. It doesn't mean that you go all over the map. You spend one day doing line drawings. It's not good. Okay, I give up. Okay, no. Well, Mache says I got to learn 3D, so I'm gonna buy 3D Studio Max, and I'm gonna learn it. It took a day. It doesn't really click with me. It's too hard. I give up. Oh, I'm gonna do speed painting. John Park's really good at that, so I'm gonna do that. Oh, I suck. Okay, I'm gonna give up. Well, that's not really going to work for you either because guess what? You're going to hate everything you do for a very, very long time. And even after years and years and years and years, you're still going to hate. At least I hope you're going to hate the stuff that you do because the thing is that the problem with artists, and it's kind of a curse in a way. It's not that you hate everything that you do, but generally speaking, your brain is way past what you're able to do in terms of what you think you want to be able to do. Like your skill set where it is, you should always have your eye on something in the future that you want to be able to do that's much cooler or much more difficult or much more interesting than what
Yeah,
you're currently doing. So if that's the case, then generally what you're doing right now is like, oh, I'm starting to learn how to do some stuff. I'm starting to learn some skills that are kind of that are that are maybe going to be useful down the road. But right now, what I'm seeing in my head is something a lot more advanced or a lot more interesting than what I'm actually able to do right now. At least that's my opinion. That's how I always feel.
yeah,
So if that's the case, then you should always be thinking, like you said, thinking about what do I already know how to do and how can I improve on that? How can I get better at that? But you should also be thinking about focus on a realistic goal and then do that thing. If you're
yeah,
trying to learn speed paintings, don't go and learn 3D Max right away. Go and do your speed paintings and you time box yourself, you give yourself a timer and you do a painting a day every single day, maybe two, maybe three, maybe five paintings a day. I don't know, whatever it is, and you do that every day for until you see results. And that for some people that'll be 2 months, for some people it'll be 8 months. But you have to have a focus and a goal. That's what school does for people that don't have a focus. By the way, if you have a hard time focusing and sticking to one thing, school forces you to do that.
yeah.
So that's what's good about school. If you don't have a problem doing that, then do that and you will see results. If you dance around too much with too many different things, you're not going to see results because you're not going to give your brain enough time to absorb that stuff. You're just not,
I
you know?
agree. I agree 100%. And it art is not like this thing that day one, oh shit, I picked it up, Like it's never happens. I've never seen an artist like after a day of painting like, oh shit, I'm awesome now. That never happens. It takes time. With everything though. If you want to become a good musician, if you want to play a guitar, like it's not like gonna buy a guitar and be fucking playing for Metallica. Like it means that you have a tool, and now what, right? You have to learn how to use it, and learning craft takes time, and you have to sort of like understand that learning craft takes time. It never happens overnight, and it usually requires a lot of effort. Like if it's almost like going to the gym, right? I mean, you are pretty much, a god, as come like Apollo looking guy, super shredded, fucking girls screaming when they see you, throwing panties into you. I know, I've seen it. I've seen everything. Um, but you know it well. It's like when you go to the gym, unless you're struggling with weights and really just pushing to the brink of exhaustion and to, where it's like, fuck, I cannot lift anymore. You're not going to grow. Like your muscle is not gonna break down enough to grow, right? I mean, obviously you have to get rest and have a good nutrition along the way and whatnot. But in order to become, huge, in order to become like as big as Nick is,
Yeah.
as shredded as fucking, Schwarzenegger like he is, you
Yeah.
have to really, put a lot of weights on.
Well, he actually doesn't. He just has better genetics than everyone. He eats macaroni salad and sits on his
And
ass and
ice cream.
plays Call of Duty, and somehow he's like got a
Just
better
gross.
abs than anybody.
Just gross.
He just grows. But anyways, normal people, not perfect genetic people. Yeah, you basically what Mache is saying is you have to repeat. In all seriousness, you have to repeat a certain thing a lot of times, and you have
Yeah.
to get a feel for what that does for you. A lot of repetition and a lot of focus, and it has to be a focused effort. It has to be, I'm doing this thing, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to stop until I see results at this one thing before I go and do something else that every time you switch and you do something else, it's starting all over again. You suck. You suck at everything again. And then now it's starting all over. So why not just pick a thing and go all the way with it and really focus on it and and learn it, Dedicate yourself to one thing for a while. And
Yeah, exactly.
then brush up on some other stuff once you feel comfortable a little bit, at least a little comfortable with it.
And if you already have a job, you work 9 to 5 or 9 till 9, and you're sort of like, fuck, I work a lot. I'm pretty sure during the day, instead of just like slouching yourself on a couch and like shit, like I'm gonna watch some TV, if you spend that time learning something, like even just starting with the very easy steps, paint something for half an hour, for 20 minutes every day. Start with that, and then every week or every 2 weeks, add another 5-10 minutes. You'll start to see results. And if it's a focus painting, it's not like I'm holding my sketchbook and sort of like thinking about farting, but not really, and I don't know what I'm doing, so fuck it. And 20 minutes up, all right, I'm done. Like
And then you shit your pants. Yeah, that's
yeah, and
pretty
then you
much
shit your pants, and it becomes really nasty. That's not gonna work. You kind of want to be focused, right? Watch a
Yeah,
tutorial. There's many tutorials on how to draw humans, right? Like how to
yep.
construct humans. Start with that. Like if something as easy as that, or look up how to draw in perspective. Starting with foundation will get your head around how art works, and then learning all the other techniques that define your style. That's something that can come later, or you can start with that if you want to. But as long as you're focused and really pushing an effort, and I mean effort, like you're really focused and you're really doing this for that period of time that you set up for yourself, right? You will see results. There's no way you will not. If you're not seeing results, then you're not putting enough attention towards what you do. And it's easy to say like, oh, I'm working, I have this family, blah blah. Or try to find time. Like life is not easy. When I started to think about art seriously, I was a fucking janitor. I was working as a janitor. I was going to university. I was supposed to be an electrician. I was working to sort of like help my mom and everything like that. And I didn't have much time to do art, but I was obsessed about, painting cool shit that I liked. I was obsessed about doing it. And I found the avenue and started doing it more and more and more, and like fucking people asking me, "Hey, let's go to the party or something." Oh, fuck it, I'm gonna paint.
Oh my God, I just realized something. Dude, is this like fucking Goodwill Hunting? Are you like the janitor that was doing like matte paintings on the chalkboard and everyone was and then you'd run away when people would come look like, "Oh shit, you see what that guy just painted?" Then you like run away and hide and
Maybe.
then go and it's like a matte painting with chalk and then you like eventually now you're like learning 3D and doing crazy ass renders,
I
but
don't
you're
know what you're talking about. This is crazy. Blasphemy.
What was
fucking
that? What?
oh man, dude. This is good, like some Goodwill Hunting shit. What's going on here?
No, but what I'm trying to say is like when you put a focused effort, you will see results, and just kind of keep going. That's how you build habit.
Yeah.
You don't stop after a week. It's like, oh, this is too hard. If you do that, then it's probably not for you, And if you do that to everything, then you probably have a problem.
Well, that's what I meant to say before when I said if you don't see results, you should stop. I didn't mean that you should stop. What I meant is whatever you're doing, if you don't see results and you're doing a painting a day for a year or you have a focused effort, whatever that effort is, and you really are dedicating your time to doing it, something is wrong if you're not seeing the results. You definitely would if you were doing it correctly, you would see the results because like you said, you were obsessed. Like ask yourself, are you obsessed with this? Like
Yeah,
if you're trying to learn this stuff, you should be obsessed with it. You want to know why? Because everyone else that's going to do this for a living is obsessed with it. So
yeah,
you shouldn't approach it if you're not ready to dedicate yourself to it. Because you know what? And this is the thing I talk about every single talk I give, every single thing I give, is that people are misled and they think that becoming an artist is just a passive thing that happens by accident or you're born with it or you're not and you just become it. That's not true at all, man. Like if you went into it going like as if someone was going to med school and you're putting in 90 hours a week into what you're trying to do, guess what? you're doing it right. You're gonna see mad results. If you're
Yeah.
going in and you're spending 5 hours a week half-assing it, looking at YouTube videos, trying to do a master painting, a master copy, and you're like, oh, but I'm practicing. No, you're not. That's not nearly enough. Come on, like no professional athlete spends 5 hours a week. No doctor spends 5 hours a week. These people
Yeah.
spend like 90 hours a week. They eat, sleep, and breathe whatever it is that they want to learn. So just
Exactly.
do that, and that's how you're going to get a job. That's
Yeah,
it.
and you have to sort of distinguish work versus learning and passion, because like for you, like you come from work, like you've done your job at a studio, you come back home. What is the first thing you do? Obviously you go fuck, and then you eat and drink.
Well, it's interesting to know what your schedule is like. Actually, thank you for that.
No, I'm talking about you, because I know, I with the pecs of God like you, I'm pretty sure that's what happens. Um, but in all seriousness, like how many times during the week you find yourself like, even if you're not having a freelance or you're not doing like extra work, you're usually finding yourself sketching or doing something just for fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of extracurricular work. I do extra, I freelance work, or I'm doing something teaching related. I'm recording some kind of tutorial or content.
Yeah.
I'm doing a sketch, preparing for a demo that I'm going to give the next day in class. Whatever it is, or if I don't, anything that doesn't get in my way. If I don't have extra work, I don't have a class to teach, I don't have material to prep or syllabus stuff from a class or tutorial, whatever it is, then yes, I'm doing personal work. I'm coming up with, I have ideas burning through my head that I want to get to, work is preventing me from doing that. But yeah, it's either work or it's personal work. It's one or
Yeah.
the other. You have to.
And even in many cases, the work that you do doesn't even feel like work. It's like, dude, I'm passionate about doing this, and it's not a work for me. It's something that I like doing. And then, and then you have to talk with some other artists and designers and level designers and some lighting artists or something, and then you just like, fuck, I actually hate it.
Your work can be, yeah, it can be tiring because depending on your level of involvement of what you do, work can be tiring. But I mean, obviously, that's a whole nother conversation altogether. I don't even want to get into that. Like liking your job. The thing is like if you don't like your job, you shouldn't be doing it. Like
Yeah.
you should like it. Like if you can't like being an artist, even whether you're an art director or you are a matte painter or you are anything involving art, a graphic designer, I don't care what it is. Like if you don't like it, then I don't know what to tell you, man, because there are a lot of worse things that you could be doing.
Could be a janitor and scrape poop.
And some people like that.
Some people like that for sure. Like
Some
I
people like
love the fucking poop in the toilet, that that skid fucking slash that goes across
it's
and
like Charlie.
scraping it.
It's always sunny,
It's
Charlie,
so
dude.
arty. Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure there are people like that love doing this. I'm pretty sure majority of them hated it. Hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it. They have to do it. But it's just like, in our society and generally, like, a lot of it's just lack of knowledge. And especially now, I noticed this a lot with the younger, like with young artists and, younger people. It's just like, you almost like assume that it should be given in a way, like, yeah,
That's crazy.
fucking gonna finish a school and boom, I'm an artist. Like as you said, that's not how it works. That's not how you become an athlete. That's not how you become a successful musician. That's not how you become an entrepreneur and come up with some amazing new application, that changes the world or whatever the fuck. Um, it's usually a lot of work, effort, and like really just pulling in those hours of focused effort, and you have
Yeah.
to be prepared for it, and you have to understand that there's no shortcut for it. It's never gonna be like, well, shit, like I've spent 5 hours today, I'm done. Like, yeah, maybe you're done. Maybe someone else wouldn't say I'm done, and they would continue for another 5 hours. And it's not to say that the more hours you're gonna work, the better you're gonna get. Like, you have to be smart about it. Again, like, is that time you're spending on on learning art? Is it a focused time where you're just doing the right things? And by the right things, I mean like, hey, I suck at perspective, so I'm gonna draw as many perspective drawings as I can and draw boxes and then more complicated boxes, and more complicated shit, but train myself to really understand perspective and never make that mistake ever again, and look at references, look at architecture photography, look at all those things where perspective is everywhere, right? And if you don't learn it, then you're gonna suck at it, and if you're gonna suck at it, it's just gonna, your art's gonna look like shit basically. So
Dude, but you just basically hit the nail on the head, which is that it's not just about putting in the time. It's about thinking about what you're doing and realizing whether or not you're making the same mistakes again. You need to be thinking about, what mistake did I make? Where did I go wrong? What is it? Sit there and stare at it. Look at other people's art. Look back and forth. It doesn't mean that you need to spend the time necessarily drawing. You could be researching. You could be, doing all these various different things but you can't just be mindlessly doing stuff. You have to be thinking, where did I go wrong there? And why is this person doing it right? What is the difference between the two? And how do I not make that mistake next time?
Yeah.
I can't tell you the answer, but and we all know, that each person knows what it feels like when you do a good brushstroke and when you do an ugly brushstroke. Like, I can't tell you, but what feels good and what feels, I kind of didn't do that very well, or I didn't do that right.
Yeah.
And it's those little bits of encouragement that keep you going, but you have to be thinking about your mistakes every time and how to correct those mistakes so that you don't make them again, or you make them less. And over time, eventually, you don't make them at all. And then your mistakes are something different, and then you focus on those.
Yeah, learn how to learn. That's a good one, Brandon. I'm just reading chat. Reading chat sometimes is making me crack up. It's so funny. Yeah. No, you nailed it, dude. And we could just pat each other on the back because we did a good job here.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Of course. All right, dude. Let's jump into some questions. I don't want to hold you up for too long. We've been doing overtime anyways. So
okay.
Let's jump to some questions here. Let's get them answered. I hope I'm not missing any of them. We'll see. Raja asked, when you have a brief, do you do multiple thumbs and take it to the next level, or directly start to the final? How do you present your idea to art director after a brief? Naughty Dog in other cases.
Oh, well, Naughty Dog that's a very long answer for Naughty Dog, because every single thing that we do is totally different. Like, sometimes there's no thumbnail needed at all, because I'm going to end up making a call out sheet, like an art direction sheet, and I'm going to assign that to someone else to do the thing. So I don't really need to do thumbnails because I already have a good description of what we need. Other times yes, there needs to be a very quick thumbnail where, maybe 15 minutes is enough for me to get a really quick sketch together that shows just the overall blocking of the composition, and then from there, then I can start working. It's really a judgment call, to be honest. It's up to you to decide. Unless sometimes they ask certain things of you. Like for freelance, it's a different thing. If you're working on a movie, that's, as you know, it's a different thing every single time. Like what they want. Like if you were working for Owen or somebody, like someone that likes looking at sketches or like other kinds of art, they're not necessarily, they don't need like a 3D render straight away. Then sometimes they like looking at sketches. Other times they don't want to see sketches. They want to see multiple versions of a sort of halfway finished thing that's different attempts at a particular look, right? Like, So, and that's like your thumbnail. It's not a thumbnail, but it's different versions. And so there's totally different ways to do it. But you just feel it out depending on the job, depending on the art director. You just learn about who it is that you're working with, and if you have a question, you just ask them. What they want to see. And then,
always ask a question. Like, it's never hurt to ask a question. They'll just tell you. Like, just, hey man, we need this. All right, cool. I'll do it. Always ask questions. Another question was, do you want to add something? I cut you off, sort of.
Oh, not really. I mean, I was just gonna say that if they want to, if they don't want to see thumbnail sketches, if they want to see more, like if they don't want to look at sketches, they want to see like different versions of something more finished, then they will tell you that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Another question was, and I can sort of like short. I mean, we kind of answered it already, but in my mind, I believe I do pretty good sketches. But as soon as I move to details, my work starts to suck. Any thoughts on how to tackle this issue?
Details. I'm not really exactly sure, but I would just have to say try and slow down a little bit and start looking at people's work that do really amazing detailed drawings. Like look at Kim Jung Ji and how that's a perfect example of how someone can draw detail loosely, and they're drawing it in a way where it's loose but it's indicating detail. Just because if you sketch, what you're saying is generally that probably means you draw loose pretty well, and if you draw loose pretty well, that means that maybe when you slow down, you start tightening up, and it starts killing the vibe of your drawing.
Yeah.
So I would look at people that do detailed work, but they still draw kind of loosely, and you'll start to connect with what they're doing in terms of how to not kill the energy. Like, drawing something slowly, and then all of a sudden it gets really stagnant and boring, versus like drawing things with construction, and then
Yeah.
there's a total difference between the two, and by looking at people that do that, you're going to learn that. I'm not just saying just look at reference. That's a boring answer. I mean look at people that draw really detailed stuff, but it still has energy and looks fun. That would be what I would look at, like someone like Kim Jong Ji or something like that. There are several people like that, though.
Yeah. Agree. Cool. The next one was, hey guys, you both are teachers. What are your approaches, attitudes towards students that are struggling? Do you guys have bias towards students who are doing well and students who aren't?
No, I don't have a bias. I think all I want is students that are working hard. I don't care if they're doing well or
Yeah.
they're struggling. I want students that really show me that they care. Number one, that they listen to what I am telling them to do, that they're following directions. That's really, really important to you
Yeah.
learning. A lot of students will ask for advice, and then when you give them the advice, they don't like to hear what you said, and then they don't do it, and
Yeah.
therefore they shouldn't even be there, because what are you doing? Like, if you're not listening to what I'm saying, then then what are you even trying to learn for? So
Yeah.
I like students when when you can tell that they really want to get better, and they're listening to everything you're saying, and they're really putting in the time.
Yeah.
That is what I am. I'm biased towards students that try really hard. So
I think we all are in a
yeah.
way. Well, one thing I find interesting, I mean, we talked about those teachers that, suck and they try to force their ideas on you.
Mhm.
Well, that's one thing. Like if your head is not like right up your ass really deep, or like neck deep, where it's just like your butthole becomes like a shawl, like
Nice.
you're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, you know what I
It's
mean?
lovely. Yeah, yeah.
If that's not a case, then you probably have a healthy perspective on the quality of your work. Or if you don't, then ask random people what they think about your work, and if or what they think about your teacher's work. And now, if your work sucks and your teacher's work is amazing, and then you come into a class and say, well, this is stupid. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way. Like, how do you know? That person that is teaching you, especially if it has the credentials, they do it in the industry. This is how it works. This is why they are teaching in most cases, especially teachers that are, industry professionals, A lot of schools who have those guys, like, starting with Learn Squared or Brainstorm or CDA, CGMA, like there's even like Noman, obviously, Art Center, like all of those places that could be mentioned here, or shit like Schoolism with Bobby Chu, like there's so many schools out there that they have industry professionals, and if you come to a class with a person like this, in most cases you're coming to the class because you like that person's work. Listen to what they have to say, and really like focus on the homework and the aspects of learning that they're giving you. And I'm not trying to say like that's the only way to do it, right? You should probably take many classes with different people, like as many as possible, because that's gonna give you more perspectives on the same subject, and then you can find which workflow or perspective works with your specific skill set. And you might have one teacher that teaches you a specific way of working, and it's not really clicking because your brain works differently. Like maybe you're better at sketching than details, for instance, right? And maybe taking a class from someone who works better with like the way you think might work better for you, but not only focusing on this one thing. Like try to get as much perspective as possible. When students come to class and you teach something, the way I look at it is, yeah, listen to what I say. And the reason I'm saying it is because I use it on a daily basis at work. This is how I work. This is what works. This is what got me working at Naughty Dog. This is what got me working in the film industry. And the reason I'm doing a class is because I want to share my workflows. And I know those things work because I get hired over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that attitude where, like, shit, I want to learn and I'm going to listen. And even if I disagree, I'll try to do it this way. That's really appreciated. But when you have a students, and I don't think I have that often, if at all, that basically completely disagree with you, and it's like, fuck you, you're an idiot. This is not the way industry works. Well, there's nothing you can do but tell them, well, look at where I work, like look at my credentials, and I'm really trying to give you the best possible solution, where I think, I think that this is probably the best way to work. I might be wrong. Maybe it doesn't work for you. But have an attitude of learning instead of just like trying to, like I'm the shit, like my art is awesome and your art isn't. Like those people, it's not like I'm biased against them. I'll try to explain this is not the way to do it. And if they don't listen, well, there's only that as much as I can do, and just say, well, if you don't want to listen, then I cannot help you anymore. Or I'll try, but you have to start to listen if you want to have any help from me specifically. If not, then try to find someone who's who you agree with, and then kind of go that route. I don't think going with the route with only working with people that only agree with you is the right choice. I think disagreements and challenging yourself with something you don't believe into is a good idea, especially if it's called for. Like, especially if the person that is trying to explain it to you is someone who really has a lot of experience, and experience that is relevant, experience that get him work on a daily basis, and he is employed as professional artist. So that'll be my kind of few sentences there. Probably talk too much.
No, I think that's all 100% true. Even see, for me as a student, it's like for me it was just a respect thing. Like if I respect the teacher as like a professional, even if I don't really like even if it wasn't clicking for me, I would still try it because like it works for them.
Yeah.
If it works for them, then there's something to it. It's not total bullshit if it looks cool when they do it. So why wouldn't you want to learn that? And then you could because if you try it, you don't even know. You might in a few weeks, and you repeat it enough times, it might click with you. Just because it doesn't at first doesn't mean that you're never gonna think that's cool.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I can't even tell you how many times that's happened to me. I've done that. That's happened to me so many times where I gave it a shot, and then after a while, I was like, you know what? This shit's kind of cool.
I had that experience when I was taking Ash's class, the UI and data design, and I was sort of like, my brain was kind of forcing me like, do this, and Ash was constantly calling me like, fucking stop, just do it the way I teach. And then oh shit, I'm gonna give up and do it the way he teaches, and then I wasn't struggling anymore.
Funny, huh?
Yeah,
Funny how that
funny.
works.
Well, exactly this. And shit, I mean, you and me, we do make the same mistakes as students do, you know? We do have our egos, but eventually you realize, all right, yeah, I should probably stop, doing this and really focus on what my teacher is saying because they know their shit. So,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
I do game art course that focuses a lot on 3D work and hardly on 2D concept art. Do you think I should be focusing on 2D concept art or focus more on 3D work? Well, I think the first question would be, are you want to become a 3D artist or a concept artist? That's that would be the first question. But what would you say to that
I would
person?
say like, well, it depends because yeah, if you want to be if you're talking about game art like game concept art and you want to be a concept artist, I think to some degree it's important to know both,
Yeah,
but you don't have to be one or the other. You can be predominantly a 3D artist, but I still think even if you're a 3D concept artist like a Hawk Prey or one of those kind of people like Aaron Beck, like really, really good 3D artists, it's really good to be able to do a little bit of 2D stuff because it will help you sometimes to
yeah,
sort of get your ideas out, and vice versa. It's if you are a 2D concept artist and you like photo bashing and you like painting and doing sketching and whatever, you have to learn some 3D. You have to. Some. Not necessarily be Aaron Beck or be Hawk Prey or be one of these kind of people that are super, super good at 3D. You
yeah.
don't have to be that, but you got to learn some because it will help you. It'll help you a ton.
For sure. And you kind of want to be yourself. One thing I always say, and I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me, I hope you do, is
It,
paint and draw or model in 3D, whatever it's end up being, what you really like to do. Like if I'm really into fantasy stuff and like unicorns and some really fucking bizarre Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, like what Aiton does, um, then do that by all means because you're gonna be hired for the work that you present on your portfolio. And if you hate doing, say, sci-fi shit, don't do it because you're gonna be hired for it if you do it.
yeah, or do or try it later. Like get good at something else first, and then
Yeah,
try it like down the road once you have established some skills that you're comfortable with. Like just don't learn one thing and then try something later once you've already established that you can do something else. Like yeah, don't yeah, I agree completely.
yeah. Another question was, I'm aiming for an entry level position in a company like Ubisoft. Is it a better for my portfolio to contain tight designs, drawings, or photobash 3D renders?
It depends on the project because for one project they might want one thing, and for another project they might want something totally different. I can't really answer that from an Ubisoft perspective,
Right.
but I can say that having a specialty is good. It's good to have like something where you say, okay, this is clearly like my strength. This is a thing that I could do professionally and I feel really confident at it. And then give them a little bit of some other stuff, like you mentioned, a little bit of the other thing.
Yeah.
But it should be one of the two, one thing should be very strong. You shouldn't put multiple things in there if one of them is weak, because that's actually going to hurt you. I would rather see one thing like one of the things you mentioned being really good and solid than seeing multiple things and like a couple of them suck because I'll remember that too. I'll remember that you put all this work in there that really was weak. There was some good things, but how do I know I'm going to get the good art? How do I know I'm not going to get some of the bad stuff that you showed me?
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to answer that, man, to be honest. But that's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, look at what artists that already work there, what they do, and try to do it better.
Or at least close to, as
Like close to, yeah.
close to what it is, and just be honest with yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's okay to be like, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. Like I can't quite do Destiny as well as Dorje. All right, good, because almost nobody can because he's the best at that stuff, or whatever,
Yeah.
or Jesse Van Dyke or one of those people. Like, yeah, they're so good. You don't have to be exactly that, but could you see yourself doing work that? Look at the art book. Look at the work that is done. Do you see yourself in the general vein?
Ballpark.
Yeah, in the ballpark of doing stuff
Yeah.
like that. If not, then
You have to work. You
You
have to
got to
put
keep
some, yeah,
working.
keep working,
Yeah.
keep punching the bag, I would say.
Yeah.
What is it like to have a most chiseled jaw west to Mississippi?
That's bullshit. You just made that up right now.
I didn't. I'm just reading questions, dude.
You're lying. Okay, is it Nick? It's Nick.
It
Nick's
must
on
be
there.
Nick. Of
It's
course
not.
it's Nick.
That's not a serious question. I can't imagine it is.
Have you ever been in a situation where you consider yourself good at one thing, but you feel you need to practice something which you are not good at all? And the second part of the question would be, and later you feel bad to spend your time practicing other stuff and not mastering your principal skill. Because sometimes I feel that I'm going nowhere with that behavior.
I totally understand how you feel, and let me explain one thing about that. So when I started at Naughty Dog, I came off of this is a perfect segue into like reality because this is my reality. Um, so working at Naughty Dog, I came off of doing like 80s made up robots, Transformers stuff, making up, painting everything from scratch out of my head, not using 3D because there was no time to use 3D. It had to be like stylized, painted, you know what the shit looks like. Anyways, that's a totally opposite thing from what The Last of Us was at the time. So here I come in. I don't. They hired me for whatever reason, and I come in, and then I'm working next to Mache, who's the best dude in the industry at doing Last of Us kind of concept art, realistic, naturalistic lighting, uh, realistic work that looks painterly at the same time.
Bullshit. I smell bullshit.
No,
Wait,
I'm being
what?
serious.
What?
So for me, I was way outside of my comfort zone of like stuff that I know how to do. I was way outside. I was not even close to, you know. So for me, it was very uncomfortable at first to practice something new and I learned so much because I am like this guy does all this shit better than I do because I had been doing something totally opposite of that for the last 4 years. So it felt uncomfortable because I had to do something that was different, that wasn't what I was used to doing. And I felt like I sucked for a while because that's just the way it's going to be. If you jump outside your comfort zone, you're not going to feel like the strong artist that you used to feel like when you were doing the stuff you're comfortable with. And the idea of feeling like that you suck is actually the best thing in the world because that means you're breaking into new territory and you're expanding your skill set. So I think it's definitely necessary to take some time away from your comfort zone, learn some new stuff, feel that feeling that makes you humble and makes you feel like, you know what, I fucking suck all over again. And that's exactly how I felt when I started at Naughty Dog working with this guy. But after time went by, I watched and I learned from what he was doing and I learned new ways of working that made me a lot stronger. I'm not going to say I'm at the best at doing that stuff, but I definitely learned how to do it to a level that I'm comfortable with doing on whatever project. And that the only way that happens is from feeling like you suck
Right.
for a while. And that was my experience. Uh, so, that makes sense. Vice versa, if someone came from doing photoreal like environments and doing like the kind of stuff that Last of Us concept art was looking like, and then all of a sudden I throw you and I say, all right, now we're going to be painting robots from scratch out of your head. No photos. There is no photos for that, and no 3D because I need you to paint this in less than a day, and it needs to look painterly because that's the style. And now you're going to do that. You would struggle because it wasn't what you were doing.
Yeah.
But after a year of doing that, you're not going to forget how to do the shit that you were doing before. You're going to have a new skill set, and then you combine that with the old skill set, and now you're just way stronger than you were a year ago.
Yeah. If
And
it's
yeah,
if it's a focused, like really focused training where you're just like, hey, I'm trying this new thing. I'm trying this 3D approach to things. It might feel like you're wasting time, but if you're really focused and you're really learning something out of it, and by focused I mean yeah, like again, like coming back to what we've been talking about, where you're just like, dude, the size of that head was perfect.
fucking bullshit. My every time I move slightly to the top, it just goes absolutely ape shit on me. I'm gonna smash something.
But I was saying, like, yeah, if you're putting effort and and you're learning something, even if it sounds like it's a useless thing for now, it might actually be useful. So don't get discouraged. I wouldn't feel that way. Obviously, the more time you focus on doing new things, the less time you get to practice, everything else. So you have to be careful, like, not to go to the deep end where, like, shit, I'm gonna go into shaders, even though I don't know how to model and stuff like that. So it might not be useful. Like, always try to approach it with this way. So let's say you're doing an artwork, and you always find it, like, really difficult to work with the hard surface stuff, right? Like, it's really difficult for you to render it. So will learning 3D and shaders and rendering help you to solve that issue? Yes, of course, because, like, if you're using 3ds Max or Fusion 360 or shit, even ZBrush, right? You can learn how to do hard surface designs really quickly. You can rotate those, render the way you like, add the lighting you like to it. And if you spend quality time learning those things, they will become a skill set and a tool that now you can fuel your artwork with, right? So if you're bad at creatures and you always rely on references, and for whatever reasons you're running out of ideas, well, pick up ZBrush and start learning how to do creatures in ZBrush, because that might exactly be what you're looking for. But, like, if you suck at one thing and, like, I'm gonna learn how to play guitar instead, well, that's probably wasting time then.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll go through one more question because we're really, like, over time, and we'll wrap on that. I know we haven't touched on all the questions, but we're really trying. What method? Actually, we kind of answered this. Let's get a quick and easy one. Do you recommend making your own website or having an art station?
I think these days having an art station is probably enough, but it's nice to have a website just for professionalism. It looks more professional to have a website than have an art station. Art
Yeah.
station looks pretty good. I will say that.
They've launched this Pro where you can actually attach your domain, I think, and it has, like, a portfolio site. It looks actually like it's like a Squarespace minus all the customization.
Yeah.
Just have a couple of templates. It's gonna work. It's as long as it's clear and easy to click and see your artwork, and the site doesn't look like absolute garbage, it's gonna work. So I would say
nice.
ArtStation is good to start. Then maybe get, like, Squarespace if you want to have more to say on how the design is gonna look like, more customization, maybe different colors. Then go with Squarespace. But it's up to you. You can also, design your own site, but unless you're really good at it, I would say don't do it.
Yeah.
Focus that time on painting or something.
If you're gonna do a bad job, like, if it's not gonna look good, if it's gonna look crappy, then I'd say it's worse to have a bad looking site than it is to just have an art
Yeah.
station. But if you want to make a cool site and you spend a little bit of time how to learn Squarespace, which is what I did, my site's not the best looking thing in the world, but it's clean. It's clean, and it's really easy to use, and it's really efficient because Squarespace is pretty good. And that was all I wanted. Something simple that reads clean, and that but yeah, if you don't want to do that, then
Yeah.
don't make a crappy site. Just use ArtStation at that point.
I agree, dude. All right, guys, sorry if we didn't answer all the questions, but it's gonna be time to wrap it up. I have a lot of work to do as well. I'm pretty sure you as well.
I got some recording to do tonight. You know what I'm saying, baby?
Do I know what you're saying? I think I know what you're saying.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be just dropping the microphone tonight, dude.
Oh shit! It makes me really excited. Really excited.
Nice.
One thing I wanted to say before we wrap it up, I mean, peeps, if you really like what we're doing here with the Art Cafe and shit, just I mean, we started Patreon. You can go to www.patreon.com/artcafetv and support what we're doing. There is a specific goal that we have. Andrew, I'm planning to have him more often on our live streams, and we plan to have more guests. We also plan to do some face-to-face interviews, which is coming up soon. As for now, we're just investing our own resources for this. You can see this fucking amazing mic right here. And, you can see we're trying to add the quality. Any help helps. You don't have to do it. I will continue doing that anyways, because I'm really passionate about, talking with great people and sharing the knowledge. But yeah, just wanted to get it out there and
if you don't want to do
show
it,
some love.
the goal is $700,000, and you can deposit that into my bank account directly. I'll know exactly what to do with it.
The true reason I started a Patreon is because I really want to have that Bugatti.
Of course.
But I cannot afford it from my freelance, so
Yeah, you need a cool 20 mil.
anyways, guys,
Thank you for having me on, Miche. Thank you so much. I appreciate it,
dude,
bro.
you're always welcome, and you're gonna be here. You're gonna be back here anytime you want. If you want it, then you'll be here. Let's wrap it up. Next week we have Bruce Straley, and dude, I'm super excited about that because
Bruce, director from Last of Us and Uncharted 2.
yeah, if you wanna ask questions and hear what the person that is behind the most awesome sauceness of Naughty Dog, then fucking don't miss it. Don't you dare missing it, basically.
Yeah, you're gonna want to listen to that one.
Yep. All right, guys, and thanks again. I'll see you next week, and peace out.
Talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Later.